Today is meal prep day. I'm going to show you how to make all of this at one time, well, 2 times, because we're going to do lunch first because it takes the longest, and then we're going to do the breakfasts. So we're going to start off doing the lasagna soup, which is actually turned into spaghetti soup because I have spaghetti noodles. We're going to get the Salisbury steak and the meatloaf going, and shrimp tacos will be last, but we're going to get all of the beef things going at one time. So what we have here is we have some chopped bell peppers, some chopped onions, some chopped mushrooms, some diced mushrooms. We're going to put this in the Salisbury steak. And then this will be the Salisbury steak toppings that will go on the patty once we get that ready. I have my breadcrumbs soaking in milk here for the actual meatloaf, which I Salisbury steak. Okay, yeah, so that's there. I have this pan getting screaming hot for our peppers and onions to saute for a couple of our meals. So what we have here is our peppers and onions and a little bit of garlic, and I'm going to saute this. This will go in the spaghetti soup. This will go in the meatloaf. This will go in the breakfast burrito. So I'm just doing it all at one time. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I am kind of cheating this week and using some spaghetti sauce that's already seasoned for the spaghetti soup. So really, I don't need a whole lot because unlike most weeks when I prep, I'm only prepping for this week and only just enough for Jared. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it's going to be fun. You can absolutely double, triple, quadruple, 10 times this recipe. Get it ready, stick it in the freezer if you want to. So that way you can pull it out later when the weeks get a little bit busy. I'm not doing that this month because our freezer, I have figured out when our local grocery store discounts their meats. So I've been going in there. They discount it late at night. So when I take Lulu to work a couple times a week, I will go before I pick her up and raid the meat counter and get a bunch of stuff. So our freezer's kind of full, which means there's going to be a lot of cooking videos coming. That's what that means. So we started off this video with 2.5 pounds of ground beef to make a bunch of different things. I've got about a half a pound here and about a half a pound here. This will be Salisbury steak. This will be meatloaf, and then the other about 1.5 pounds will go into the spaghetti soup. Okay. So as you can see, I've taken a lot of the peppers and onions out. I did add the little mushrooms because they're going to cook quickly and they're going to cook down a lot. Normally, I don't like mushrooms, but I had them, so I thought, why not? So I have the rest of the peppers and onions over here. This will go in the meatloaf and in the breakfast burritos when we get started on breakfast. So we're still soaking our broadcrumbs. We still have our 2 things of ground beef over here that I haven't done anything with yet, because now I have to go and get this going and broken up and crumbled up really good so I can get the soup going, and we'll go from there. Really quick, I have one of these. This was my father-in-law's. I don't know where he got it. I do know that Pampered Chef sells them, so if you're looking for one, they just make really, really quick work of scrambling your ground beef, your ground pork, your ground chicken, your ground turkey, whatever it is you're using. So I'm fairly certain he got this at Walmart, but there you have it. Okay, so let's make the meatloaf and the Salisbury steak. So I have 2 different bowls here. This one I'm going to make into the meatloaf, so I'm going to put it in my bowl that has my soaked breadcrumbs in it, just like that. Put that in the sink. So meatloaf, we need some of these peppers, onions, and the garlic in there. Pretty good amount right there. I'm going to add a little Worcestershire sauce. Ooh, I forgot one of the sauces. We're also going to put this in the Salisbury steak just to season a little bit because my hubby loves Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to put a little Dijon mustard in the Salisbury steak. That got everywhere. Look at my hands. Got everywhere. It happens. It's okay. They make this thing called soap and water. It's great. All right, let me get my other sauce and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So another one of my all-time favorites is dill steak sauce. So we are going to, and I apologize, this is backwards. I'm learning. We're going to put about, I don't know, 1/4 of a cup in each one. just because this isn't a lot. This is just for one meal each, so it's not a lot. We want to watch the salt. So we have here. I'm going to add a little bit of ketchup to the meatloaf, just a little bit, because we're, you know, most of it goes on top. So we're going to mix all of this up really good, and I'll be back. I did forget to put the mushrooms in the Salisbury steak, because I said that's where we were going to use that. So let me go wash my paws and I'll be back. Okay, so now we have the mushrooms in here. I have clean paws. I did add a little salt and pepper, here. We're just going to mix this up. This is going to be so simple. Now remember, we're not exactly making a meatloaf here. We're just making a good flavored, we're just making a good flavored patty to use as the base of our Salisbury steak. Okay, so while everything's working, kind of marrying together, and my husband is cleaning his lunchbox cooker, I'm going to divide up the shrimp because I do not need a whole pound of shrimp. Yeah, well, this is 12 ounces, but I still don't need it all. So I'm gonna need, I don't know, 10 or 12 shrimp. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll just do 20. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and that's close enough. So we'll use the rest of it for another time or another recipe. So while it's still frozen, I'm just going to put it in the bag and get all of the air out, seal it up, stick it in the fridge. That way, next time I go to make a shrimp recipe, I have shrimp. So now we're thawing out our shrimp. This is a bowl full of cold water. We don't want hot water because we're not trying to cook the shrimp. Cold water, it really only takes 5 to 10 minutes. So hack, I have 2 garbage bowls. They're both metal. I have this one that is, I don't even know where it came from, but it's really beat up. I don't use it for anything because it likes to catch stuff. So it's my garbage bowl. I use it to drain my liquids in a strainer, like my grease and stuff, into this. And then I have another one that's a lot bigger, but it has like a pinhole in it from somewhere. Don't know where it came from. So I have to put all the solids in that. So all of the solid foods that are left over from chopping vegetables, whatever, they go into that one, and that goes to feed the chickens and the ducks. Soup going. What I have here is I have a can of diced tomatoes. We're going to pop right in there, and yes, the pan is hot. I forgot to turn it down. We have 2 jars of Aldi brand marinara sauce because it is my absolute favorite. Well, actually, Rouse is my favorite, but I'm not paying $8 a jar for marinara. So 2 jars of that. And I will do the little trick because I'm going to cook the noodles in this pot. I will do the trick with washing out those with water and then dumping that in there. So I'm going to add a little Italian seasoning to spice this up just a bit. So, you know, not a whole lot, just some. I'm also going to add a little chili powder to give it just a little bit more of a, this one's not open. I thought it was, hold on. Okay, well, I promise I'm going to add that in there, but I don't want to keep you. I'm also going to add in, because this was supposed to be lasagna soup, I'm going to add in some ricotta cheese. So this will be very similar to like a $1 million spaghetti, only it will be a soup. If you've never had $1 million spaghetti, typically it calls for cream cheese, but I happen to have some ricotta left over that we are going to use. I'm going to put that in there, stir that up. We're going to grab our strained ground beef. Isn't that disgusting? We're going to pop that in there. Sorry, you guys are probably getting motion sickness. Stir this up, and this will be the base of our soup. So the next thing I'm going to do, which I'm not going to do on camera because I don't have 3 hands, is I'm going to take some spaghetti noodles and I'm going to break them into thirds. Because this is supposed to be a soup. He is a truck driver. He does need to be able to eat this from a thermos, possibly drink it from a thermos. So I may actually break them down into quarters. Add a little water and we'll be back. Okay, so I did decide to break the noodles into quarters. So they're a lot smaller. because like I said, some days he can sit down and eat with a spoon. Some days he literally has to drink it if he's really, really on the go. So one thing I have decided to do is to add a bay leaf and let that come together. I did add about the equivalent of one of those jars of water and about 3/4 of a can of water. So this soup is going to be hearty. I will have to reassess the water once the noodles cook and soak up some of this, but this would be about the consistency I'm looking for, so I will just keep an eye on it. If it gets really thick, then I'll just add more water. Okay, so I know I'm gonna have a lot of non-trucker wife friends watch this video. How is he gonna cook his food? Well, really easy. I'm going to pre-cook it beforehand, and then for him to warm it up in the truck, all he's got to do is put it in his lunchbox cooker, which looks like an old school lunchbox. You open it up and it has this pan here that you can put stuff in. We buy these pans at Walmart. This is a 8 by 3.88 by 2.47. It's the medium loaf pans at Walmart. That's what we get. So when it's all cooked and I put his meal together, we stick it right in there, cover it with aluminum foil. He closes this, plugs it into his power outlet and let it go. And then it takes, I don't know, Jared, how long does this take to heat up?
About 8 to 10 minutes tops.
Yeah, so within 15 minutes, he's ready to go with a home-cooked warm meal because it is cold, y'all. So I'm going to next get these pans ready for our oven to start the process. We have done this, we have actually done this and prepped the food raw and stuck it in his cooker, and it is fresher. It does probably taste a little bit better, but honestly, he doesn't have time to deal with the grease. Sometimes he might forget because he's busy to stick it in and plug it up. So his lunch may be a little delayed. So we have opted to just pre-cook. All right, so first we're gonna do the meatloaf. Oh, I need my spray. Look at me trying to be all professional and forgetting all the stuff. Hold on, we're crooked. We're about to fall. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna spray the pan. Will you turn that on to 375? All right, spray the pans, easy peasy. This is our meatloaf. We're gonna stick it right in here and just kind of press it down, just like a traditional meatloaf. We should have got the smaller pans to cook it in.
You'll be all right.
Just press it down. This is gonna be kind of thin, and it's okay because what I'm gonna do is when I take this out and put it in the pan that's actually going to be his meal pan, I'm gonna cut it in half, layer it, and then section it with aluminum foil for his veggies. So it's okay, it's okay. Plus this will cook faster, it's fine. So there's our meatloaf. Let me wipe my hands down. And then this is our Salisbury steak. Again, just kind of push it down. We're gonna do the same thing with this one. Cut it in half and make his little meal tray. Now, for the Salisbury steak, oh, I need to catch up. For the Salisbury steak, we're gonna add some vegetables. So we're gonna add some mushrooms because I had them and he likes them. We're gonna add some peppers and onions. And then I'm not going to top these until I put them in the actual cooking pan. So I need aluminum foil, which is here, forgive the noise. We'll cook these. These probably won't take, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to cook because they're pretty thin once the oven is fully preheated. That was way too much. So now we're just going to let the oven preheat, stick these in, let them cook. I'm gonna go stir the soup and we'll be back. Okay, so the soup is done. I kind of wanted to show you the consistency for a good soup. I mean, you really can't see it, so it's fine. But like I said, this is a soup, maybe like a stoop, as Rachel Ray would call it. It's kind of thick, gonna be really hearty. He does have a soup thermos, but we moved fairly recently ago. Things just kind of fell apart and I couldn't do this as often as I had been. So we are having to, and his soup thermos is still at our other house. So I'm having to put these in the pan. So all I'm going to do is just scoop them into the pans. Now these are going to be really, really hot, remember, because they're aluminum. So be careful. And you could make this a little thicker, like if you didn't want to put as much water in it, maybe cook the noodles ahead of time and just make it really thick and hearty, or even layer it. You could even do actual lasagnas in these pans. I thought I had lasagna noodles, but I have spaghetti noodles, so we're doing a spaghetti. So you could do like a baked spaghetti too. So we're just gonna layer this in. If you do make it thicker, you can absolutely cover this with cheese, wrap it up with aluminum foil, and they can put them in their cookers. You know, if you're a guy or lady or yourself don't have access to a cooker, but you want to go ahead and start prepping, you know, and they have access to a microwave or something, just don't put it in aluminum, just put it in plastic. It's fine. It's fine. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna wrap them in plastic wrap so that they don't leak. Because again, like I said, we don't have the tools we normally would to do this. So I'm just going to cover this with plastic wrap and then aluminum foil. And don't worry, the plastic wrap will not melt. It's not gonna get in the food. It's fine, I promise, I promise, I promise. As long as you get good plastic wrap. So cover this up with the plastic. One of these days when I'm a big, you know, when I grow up to be a big kid and we actually renew our Sam's membership, I'm gonna get the big roll of plastic wrap that I can pull out, set it on, and we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna do this again because I really don't want this spilling out everywhere. So what I'm gonna do is lay it out and come this way with it. If I can get the roll to actually roll. There we go. Much better. Much, much better. So we're going to come up from the bottom and then down from the top. That will create a better seal. So up from the bottom and then down from the top, and then we'll put the aluminum foil on it. Now, if you're really worried about the plastic, melting, do the aluminum foil first, then the plastic, then just take it off. We'll do that on the next one. And just cover it with the aluminum foil. This piece is way too big. Way too big. And I really crimp it under the edges. Like, I really, really crimp it under there. So it's going to give a nice tight seal and help with leaking. And then on the top, I will write what it is. So we know that's spaghetti soup, and this one we'll do the aluminum foil first. I still promise you it will be okay, but we'll do the aluminum foil first. So I'm going to fold and then crimp, and then fold. Let me see if you can see. There we go. I'm still learning all this technology. Like I do lives a lot for something else. But I have all that set up in my office and it's not very portable. Not very portable at all. Fold and crimp. Fold and crimp. And then we'll do the plastic wrap. Let me get the aluminum foil out of the way. We need to write what this is. Let's get the plastic crap going. Whoops. We'll sit this right here. Come up and over. It's plenty. It's a little shorter than I thought, but it's going to be okay. All right, and then from the bottom, and then from the top. So from the bottom, and then from the top. And then now he has his 2 spaghetti soups ready to go. I gotta check on the meatloaf and the Salisbury steak and start the shrimp. Okay, I went ahead and started this because I knew I was gonna have a little bit of trouble with this meatloaf, but I didn't. So all I did was took it out. It cooked for about 20 minutes on 375. I did go ahead and put the ketchup on here because he did decide this week he wanted me to go ahead and pre-cook the meats so that he didn't have to worry about the leftovers. So I did that. So I just cut it in half. I'll put the ketchup on it, put it back in on low broil for a few minutes, let that get pretty set. Then I just cut it right in half, scooped one side up, and I told you I was going to double stack it, so this leaves me room for his veggies. So now I'm going to move this over to the sink, wash off my meatloafy spatula, and we're going to move over to the Salisbury steak. Now, this Salisbury steak, let me get you where you can see, did cook down a great deal more than the meatloaf. I guess it was because of the breadcrumbs, but it's okay. So we're going to scrape the vegetables off because we want this to fit nicely in our pan. So we're just going to cut it in half, pick up half of it, put it in the pan, scrape the vegetables, pick up the other half, put it right on top. We're going to take our gravy that we're making, because what is Salisbury steak without a yummy, yummy gravy, right? So we're going to just pour some of this over, and yes, it's going to fill up the bottom of the pan, and yes, I'm going to put potatoes in there, but potatoes and gravy is his favorite, so it's fine. And I'm just going to pour some of this right over. Won't use it all. And then we're going to take the veggies and make sure they're good and drained, and just sit those right on top like that. I think that's perfect. So now I'm going to take these potatoes and put some potatoes in both. Now listen guys, so I made these and I was really worried because they were really runny. But then I remembered, you know, when you reheat potatoes, they get really stiff. They get really, really stiff on you. So then I thought, well, I'll let them sit for a little while, and they have thickened up great. Plus they're going to thicken again as he reheats them. So I'm going to put the potatoes in right there. Okay. And since I'm not pre-cooked, or since I did pre-cook these, I'm not really worried too much about the putting the aluminum foil in to separate it, because, you know, it's fine. If you want to put the aluminum foil in to separate so they don't touch, by all means go right ahead and do that, but I just was not that concerned about it. Okay, so let's finish up these beef dishes. We have 2 lasagna soups, or spaghetti soups, or $1 million spaghetti soups, whatever you want to call it. It's pasta with cheese and marinara sauce soup. So we also have our 2 beef dishes. This one is meatloaf. This one is Salisbury steak. We're going to wrap them up. Oh, and you're going to see, we had pintos and cornbread last night, so we had some pintos left over. So we have the meat, the potato, and the pintos, and there's cornbread in the fridge for him to take with him to eat with this. So let's wrap these up. Again, aluminum foil, and I know because somebody's going to yell at me over putting the plastic wrap on it first. I know this. We're going to do the aluminum foil first. And these, you know, I may not even put plastic wrap on. I just may not, because once they get cold in the refrigerator, they're going to be congealed. They're not going anywhere. Just remember, nice and tight under that lip. Nice and tight. This helps trap any steam in. It's going to help cook the vegetable or reheat quickly. Like I said, I asked him how long it takes him to heat these up. He's like, 15 minutes, I've got lunch. All right. So, marker. Where did my marker go? I saw it. I had it. Here it is. So this one is meatloaf. And this one is Salisbury steak. All right, so next thing I gotta do, I gotta peel and devein my shrimp, get them seasoned and going. I've gotta cook some rice for the tacos, and we're gonna do shrimp tacos next, and we will be done with his lunches for a week. Okay, so the next thing we gotta do is get these shrimp, now burritos, made. Things just went sideways this week. So I have my shrimp marinated. They have a little cumin, a little chili powder, a little tahini, not much because it's pretty spicy, and a little olive oil, but I did use the tahini so I could get a little lime flavor because apparently I'm out of limes. So you have a screaming hot pan with olive oil. I'm gonna cook these on both sides. Only gonna take a second, but it's gonna be really loud, so I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so let's put these, what are now going to be shrimp burritos, together and be done with lunch. So I have our pan, and because he's gonna heat this up, I need something on the bottom to keep the tortillas from crisping and getting overly done. So I'm gonna add a little picante sauce just on the bottom, just to give it a little liquid, just so that they don't scorch. I'm also going to add the beans to the bottom. And these, because I'm not heating them up and I'm getting them straight out of a can, are gonna be a little lumpy. It's okay, it's all right. We're just gonna mash them down and they will be fine. So now we have a base to lay our burritos on. Looks kind of gross, doesn't it? It's fine. All right, so I have our shrimp. Now, listen, if you're cooking shrimp, you need to remember he's gonna have to reheat these, so they really only just need to be barely cooked through. You put them in, by the time you get them all layered down on one side, start flipping them, you need to pull them because he's gonna reheat them for, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes, and then they're gonna get pretty rubbery if you don't. So, first things first, we need a little rice to go in these burritos. I did not season my rice. Normally I would, but I didn't this time because we're gonna use this rice elsewhere this week because I had to cook a whole container or a whole package of it. This is just yellow saffron rice. If you want to add a little extra flavoring, you can take some of this picante sauce and just kind of spread it on here. What I'm going to do is, well, I'll show you in a minute, but I'm going to take a little container with some sour cream and some picante sauce in a container that he can add to the top. So let's take our shrimp. If I remember correctly, we had 19. So we're just gonna divide this up a little bit because I'm going to make two burritos because I checked and that's what's gonna fit. Now, normally you would take this and wrap it over. This is a really full burrito. And we're gonna place that right down in there, just like that. And we're gonna make one more. Same thing, we're gonna take our rice. It is really stinking hot on my fingers. And if you're interested, this little scoop is 1/8 of a cup, so it's about 1/4 cup of rice in each burrito. Take a little of our picante sauce right in there just to flavor it a little bit. We're gonna take some shrimp and all that shrimp juice. We're gonna wrap it up. Move him a little over. And we'll plop that right in there. So now he has 2 burritos that we are going to cover with cheese so that he has some nice cheesy stuff going on here for his burritos. And that's that. Okay, I wanted to show you guys how I make eggs, like sheet eggs, so that they fit on the breakfast sandwich and you don't lose scrambles. So I have this nifty little square pan that I put in the oven and preheated the oven to 400 degrees, and I sprayed the dickens out of it and put some eggs in there, and now I have eggs that I can cut. So we just spray the pan, pan's nice and hot. I have some scrambled eggs. And then I'll stick this back in there and then we'll cook. I don't even have to flip them. Okay, so we are going to work on some breakfast sandwiches. I have the last of the eggs in the oven. I have some hash browns going on the stove, so let's get these sandwiches knocked out. What I have are some frozen pancakes. So I'm going to make like some my version McGriddles. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a piece of cheese on, and I buy the real cheese, so you have to separate it. Sometimes it falls apart, and this is going to do just that. So piece of cheese. Some of my egg pieces were a little thin, so I decided to double them up. And then this is just a frozen sausage patty that is pre-cooked. So another piece of cheese and the top of my pancake. And so now my hubby has like a McGriddle that he didn't have to spend tons of money on. So I'm gonna wrap that up. We're gonna make 5 of those and then I'll be back. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna make is like my version of like a Monte Cristo, and it's different because it doesn't have fruit jam in it, because Jared likes it more savory than sweet. So again, I'm going to take, I've done this with English muffins, I've done it with bagels, we happen to have pancakes, so that's what we're gonna do. What I have here is I have mixed a little sauce. This is mostly mayo. It's got a little mustard and a little syrup in it, so it's a little sweet but not overly sweet, because like I said, he prefers savory. So what this sandwich calls for typically is a Swiss cheese. Again, I have this, so we're gonna put that right there. We're gonna get a couple of pieces of ham. This is just regular ham, lunch meat. You can get breakfast slices, whatever. This is what we happen to have on hand. So this is what I'm using. I'm going to put 4, fold them in half. I have my cheese. I didn't put an egg. I need an egg and another piece of cheese to hold it together. So I'm going to make 3 of these and then 3 of these with bacon, and I'll be back. Okay, we've done a lot today. So the final thing on the docket today is some breakfast burritos for Jared. So I have scrambled some eggs, and I just added the pre-cooked peppers and onions that I had done before. I made some hash browns, added just a teeny tiny skosh of tahini, and I have some bacon because I have run out of sausage. So I'm not sure there's enough bacon there. We're gonna go with it. It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. I actually decided to do this food prep video. Well, I decided to prep this, and I did go to the grocery store, but I did buy a lot of the things, but there's some things I've added to this list that I forgot. And so here we go. So really quick, I'm gonna, my flour tortillas, I'm gonna put some eggs. We're gonna try to get 5 of these out of what I have here. If we don't get 5, we will live, because I already have 10 breakfast sandwiches done. So he may not eat it all, but somebody in this house will. I have cleaned my countertop very good. So I'm just gonna add a little bacon. This bacon is pre-cooked. I buy it at Aldi's. It's the best thing ever. Saves me time, saves me energy, actually saves me money, because it's cheaper than regular bacon and you get more pieces out of it. So the weight may not be as great, but the actual size, oh, I forgot, the actual size is pretty spot on. So we're gonna add a little bit of pecani sauce, because these are burritos after all. And we do need to add the cheese that I was apparently going to leave out. So let's do that. Let's add the cheese. Then we shall wrap it up. So I take it here, fold, just like I did the shrimp burritos. Fold, and then I'm gonna roll it in this wax paper. So what I'm gonna do with these, and I've already done it with the sandwiches, is I'm going to stick these in a storage bag, labeled what they are, and then stick them in the fridge. So when he gets up in the morning, if I happen to not get up with him, he can grab whatever he needs, stick it in the microwave for like a minute and a half maybe, grab it, and out the door he goes. So let's go through this again. So since I kind of bumbled up. Let's use that word, bumbled up, the first video, or the first roll. Yeah, it looks like we're probably going to get about 4 out of this. And that's okay, because like I said, we have plenty of other stuff. And if he doesn't eat all of this, somebody in this house will. Not me, but somebody. A little bacon. A little picante. And a little cheese. Then I will finish up, and I will see you back here with the finished product on my very clean countertop. Catch you in a bit. Ooh, guys, okay, so we're done. That took me about 2.5 hours. So it really wasn't that bad. And there was enough spaghetti soup left over that we have lunch for today. So that's perfect. So even though it's now 1 o'clock where I'm at. So my kids have lunch, Jared has lunch, Mimi has lunch. I don't have lunch. I'm gonna make myself a wrap here in a few minutes, but I wanted to show you. So in 2.5 hours, and probably for about, I would guesstimate about $20. And I will sit down and break down the math, and it'll be at the end of the video, what we have done. So again, I didn't realize I couldn't flip the video. So this is what we have. Now, I just kind of wrote down, this is not necessarily the days of the week that Jared will take these, but this is what we have. So we have breakfast burritos, Monte Cristos a la Adrian, sausage, egg, and cheese pancakes, and some other stuff. Then for lunch, we have what turned into $1 million spaghetti soup, Salisbury steaks, meatloaf. I did not do rice with the meatloaf. I did potatoes, and this turned into shrimp burritos. But here's what we have. So we have 2 pans of spaghetti soup. These are the shrimp burritos and his little container of sour cream, Salisbury steak here with mashed potatoes and pintos, and meatloaf with mashed potatoes and pintos. The leftover cornbread to go with each, with the exception of the shrimp burritos. We have 5 sausage, egg, and cheese pancake McGriddle sandwiches. We have 5 Monte Cristos, and we ended up with 4 breakfast burritos. So that is essentially what will get him through the week and save us money. He now doesn't have to stop in the morning to get breakfast. He doesn't have to worry about trying to squeeze breakfast in while he's trying to get ready for work, because he gets up early. Like, a lot of times he has to be at work no later than 5 o'clock. We live an hour away from work, so what time do you think he's getting up? Plus, you know, he doesn't get off until 5. Sometimes it's after 5, another hour trip home. So he's exhausted when he comes home. Last thing he wants to do, and I have really been falling down on this, is worry about breakfast and lunch. So he's been stopping to get lunch, which has killed our budget. So here we are. So tips from me, there you have it.